Hey, close your eyes for a second. You're not in your room anymore. Not under warm blankets, not with the soft hum of your phone charger and your dog snoring down the hall. Now, you're lying in the dirt, face down, breathing through grit. Your heart isn't beating, it's slamming. And your ears are ringing from the last explosion that wasn't supposed to be there. You've been awake for 36 hours. You haven't eaten in 20. You're running low on ammo, lower on patience, and the guy to your left, the one who was just talking about his kid 5 minutes ago, he's not talking anymore. You're 23. Carrying 90 pounds of gear, a rifle that smells like copper and oil, and a blood-stained patch that says Delta. But out here, that patch means nothing. Because the guys trying to kill you don't care who you are. And the ones who sent you here aren't coming to save you. Welcome to Tier 1. Welcome to the Black Ops nobody talks about. Where rules are optional, survival is improv. And the only thing more dangerous than the mission is coming home after it. If you want to hear the story, the real one, not the movie, not the recruiting pitch, not the sanitized memoir with half the pages redacted, stick around. And if you want to hear more war stories like this one, do us a favour, give it a like, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment. It helps more than you know. Now take a deep breath, because you're not safe anymore. You're on the ground. You're in a country that doesn't officially exist. And you've got 6 minutes until all hell breaks loose. Let's begin. They don't tell you where you're going. They just hand you a packet. Grid coordinates, objectives, contingencies, and a one-line summary of the mission that sounds like it was written by someone who's never heard a bullet. High-value target, capture preferred, terminate if necessary. You don't ask questions, because questions mean hesitation, and hesitation gets people killed. So you nod, quiet, calm. You zip the packet back into your kit and walk toward the bird like you already know how this ends. And maybe you do. The rotors are already turning. Chinook. Blacked out. No markings. Pilot doesn't look at you. Crew chief gives a thumbs up without eye contact. Everyone here knows the rule. Don't talk. Don't think. Don't exist. You sit down, hook your harness, double check your weapon. You've done this before so many times it should feel routine. But it never does. Not because of the danger, because of the silence. You're surrounded by killers. Real ones. Men who've passed through a crucible most people would fail in the first hour. Men with dead eyes and quick hands and smiles that don't reach their eyes anymore. And yet none of you say a word. There's no pep talk. No. Let's get this done. Just gear checks, loaded mags, and that low hum of rotors getting louder than your thoughts. You glance at the guy next to you. He's new, probably came up through Rangers. Still smells like aftershave and ambition. He's gripping his rifle like it might float away. You want to say something, reassure him. But you don't. Because no one talks before the jump. No one says anything before the first shot. You sit in the dark, faces painted, nerves wired tight, and wait for the green light like condemned men waiting on a flickering bulb. And then, just like that, the red goes green. You stand, not because you're ready, because it's time. Feet on the ramp, wind in your face. And the world below you is a void. A black stretch of nothingness, hills, trees, rooftops, all blurred into one shadow waiting to swallow you whole. No fanfare, no glory. Just a whisper in your earpiece. Go. And you do. Because that's the job. You hit the ground harder than expected. Parachute jerks. Knees buckle. You roll trained, clean, tight like it's a drill. Only this time, it's not. Your body screams. Not from pain, from anticipation. Every nerve lit, every instinct awake. You're on forest soil behind enemy lines, and your rifle's already up before your legs are steady. The others land near you, silent, fast, efficient. You regroup at the rally point, no words, just hand signals. You move. Every sound matters now. A snapped twig could be a foot patrol. A distant engine could mean a blown exfil. A dog barking? That could be your end. You crouch in the underbrush, adjusting your NVGs. The world turns green and grainy shapes moving in slow, twitchy rhythm. You see a compound ahead. 2-story, sand-coloured, high walls, satellite dish barely visible against the sky. This is it. You check your watch. You've got 5 minutes until breach. 5 minutes to calm your heartbeat. 5 minutes to think about everything that can go wrong. It's not the shooting you fear. It's the waiting. Because when you're Delta, the bullets are easy. It's the silence in between that eats you alive. The breach is clean. 2 charges, 1 door. No alarms. You're in. And the world becomes noise. Gunfire. Screams. Footsteps. You move like a shadow room to room, muzzle tight, heart tighter. First target appears in the hallway, startled, armed. You shoot twice. Chest. Head. He drops without ceremony. The new guy freezes. Just a second. Long enough. You shove him forward. Not gently. Move or die. He moves. You clear the top floor. Body heat on the thermal says 2 more in the next room. You stack. 3, 2, 1. Flashbang. Boom. You enter. First one has a weapon. Second has a kid in the room. You don't shoot. Yet. You grab the first, pin him, zip tie. The kid screams. The guy spits in your face. You wipe it off and whisper, "Wrong night." You check the ID. It's him. The HVT, the whole reason you came. Alive, for now. You whisper into comms, "Target secured." They ask if you need extraction. You pause, because you already know the answer. The exit's hot. Someone tipped them off. Maybe a lookout, maybe a rat in your intel chain. Doesn't matter. Mortars land near your exit path. You run, hard, low, silent. New guy's breathing too loud. You slap his back. He gets the message. You reach the LZ. Chopper's late. Figures. Now you're pinned in a dry riverbed, low ground, limited cover. Bullets cracking overhead like bones splitting. You return fire. Controlled. Disciplined. The HVT tries to run. You shoot him in the leg. He screams. You drag him back by the collar. Not your choice anymore. When the bird finally shows, you're not relieved. You're angry. Angry it was late. Angry that half the plan fell apart. Angry that you didn't lose anyone. This time. Because next time, you probably will. You strap in. Dust everywhere. Your face itches from blood, sweat and dirt, but you don't move. The crew chief nods. Mission complete. You stare down at your gloves. Sticky, black, burned at the knuckles. You don't remember when that happened. And you don't care. You look at the new guy. He's shaking Gisra. You don't say, "Good job." You don't say, "You did great." You just hand him a water bottle and say, "Don't get used to it." Because this is what they don't tell you. Being Delta, it's not glory. It's not medals. It's a job that no one will ever understand and one you can never explain. You're first in, last out. You walk into hell knowing no one will thank you and most won't even know you were there. You didn't come here to be a hero. You came because the world breaks in places most people never see, and someone has to go fix it. You thought you were tough before this. You thought jumping out of planes and humping 60-pound rucks through mud made you ready. You thought being a ranger or a SEAL or a Green Beret meant you'd seen the edge of the map. You hadn't. You were still on the welcome mat. Selection for Delta Force isn't a course. It's a reckoning. You don't apply, you get invited. A quiet nod from someone who watched you bleed and didn't see you flinch. No fanfare, no certificate. Just a whispered, "You've been selected," and a date to report somewhere that doesn't officially exist. You arrive in the dark. No unit patches, no names, no introductions. Just a line of men who all look like ghosts wearing muscle and secrets. The cadre doesn't smile. They don't yell either. Worse, they whisper. Calm, clinical, like scientists dissecting live specimens. "This is a land nav course," they say. It isn't. "This is a physical assessment," they add. It's not that either. This is psychological demolition. This is where they tear your brain apart and see what's left standing. You get a map, a compass, a point. They don't walk you through it. They don't care if you get lost. In fact, they want you to get lost. You move through mountains alone. No GPS, no radios, no backup. Just you, your ruck, and the voice in your head telling you to quit. There's no end time, no finish line. Just checkpoints in the middle of nowhere. Each one a little harder to reach. Each one a little less human when you arrive. You sleep in the dirt, if you sleep at all. You eat when you can, which is rarely. Your body starts chewing itself by day 3. You hallucinate. A deer walks past you wearing your high school principal's face. You wave to it, and yet you keep going. Not because you want to, because you have to. Because somewhere along the trail the pain becomes the point. And that's what they're looking for. Not strength, not speed, not even skill. They want to know what breaks you. Because if you make it and truly make it, they're going to send you into hell. And hell doesn't allow broken men. At one point you collapse. Not metaphorically, literally. Face in the dirt, legs refusing to listen. Back screaming, ankles swollen. Your pack feels like it's welded to your spine. You lie there waiting for someone to say it's over. No one does, so you crawl. Through thorns, mud, whatever. You reach the next point half dead, and the cadre looks at you like you just walked in from a Starbucks run. Water's over there. That's it. Not good job. Not you made it. Just, here's the next step. Keep moving. Because that's the real test. Can you function after the quit button is long gone? Can you think straight when your body's stopped listening? Can you choose to go forward when nothing makes sense anymore? Most can't. They ring out quietly. No yelling, no drama, just a nod to the cadre, a tap on the map, and a slow walk to the truck that takes you home. You watch them leave. You want to follow, but your feet won't move, because some part of you knows, if you leave now, you'll never forgive yourself. The final day is called the long walk. They don't explain it. You just wake up and get told, here's your point. You'll know when it's done. You walk, all day, all night. Over mountains, through rivers, past your own soul. Your brain becomes static. Your legs are foreign. You forget your name. You forget the war. You forget the world. All that's left is the rhythm of your boots and the weight of your decisions. You arrive at the last point in the middle of the night. There's a small fire, a chair, and a man in shadows. He offers you a cup of coffee. You sit, drink, shake. He asks no questions. He just studies your face like it's a battlefield. Then he nods. Not, congrats. Not, you made it. Just, you're in. No one claps. No one announces your name. There's no badge ceremony, no parade, no welcome mat. Just a quiet flight back to a world that doesn't know you anymore. You stare out the window, wondering if this means something. If you're better now, stronger, sharper, you're not. You're just different. Because they didn't build you. They revealed you. They showed you the part of yourself that doesn't break. And now they're going to use it. When you get to the unit, they hand you a blank patch. No name, no rank, just Velcro. They hand you a suppressed rifle, a burner phone, and a list of gear you didn't even know existed. Then they say, "Welcome to the unit." You look around. Everyone here has the same stare, the same silence, the same twitch behind the eyes. They don't care where you came from, only that you're still here. Later that night, someone slaps your shoulder in the hallway and says, "Next time, real mission." You nod. But inside, you're terrified, because you just survived the worst week of your life. And you're starting to realise that was the easy part. You're in a room the size of a closet. No windows, no clocks, no questions. Just you, your gear, and a chair that creaks every time you shift. Call it pre-mission isolation. You call it waiting to die. Your weapon's already cleaned twice. Your comms are checked. Frequencies locked. Batteries replaced. Your gear's laid out like a surgeon's tray, precise, silent, lethal. There's nothing left to do. So you sit and wait and feel. Not fear, not exactly. More like pressure. Like the weight of something enormous pressing down on your chest, waiting to see if you'll crack. You stare at the wall like it owes you an answer. It doesn't. This mission's different. You can feel it. It's not in the briefing that was clinical, sterile. Satellite photos, intel blurbs, blurred out faces. Compound, 13 tangos, HVT confirmed, possible civies, risk, fluid. Fluid means bad. It means we don't know. And when you're Delta, not knowing is the real enemy. The sergeant came by an hour ago. Said, "Get your head right." Then walked out. Just no pep talk, no checklist. Just that one line. You've heard it before. It always means the same thing. Someone's not coming back. You start guessing who. Not out loud, never out loud. But in your head, the roulette wheel spins. The new guy? The comms op? You? Maybe. Maybe you're the red flare tonight. Maybe you're the name they erase off the whiteboard in the TOC at 0400 while the rest of the world sleeps. You adjust your knee pads. Again. Too tight, then too loose. Doesn't matter. It's just something to do. Your fingers are restless. You start checking your mags again. Tap each one against your helmet. Full, 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 full. Still full. Your body's a machine running pre-programmed rituals while your mind spins its tires in the mud. Outside the room, footsteps. Boots on concrete. Soft voices, murmurs, never shouts. The other teams are moving too. Final prep. Final sighs, final looks in the mirror. You all know it. This is the part no one ever films. Not the firefight. Not the breach. Not the exfil. This stillness. This wait. The moment where nothing's happened yet, but everything is already happening inside you. You think about home. About things you'll never say out loud. Not love, not pride. Something smaller. You think about the way your dog used to lean into your leg when he knew you were leaving. About how your mum always texted "stay sharp" instead of "stay safe." About how nobody knows what you actually do, and how that's by design. You remember a guy who didn't make it. Boots beside your cot for a week after he was gone. No ceremony, no plaque. Just a supply guy muttering, "Someone grab these or I'm chucking them." That's how fast you're replaced. You wonder if they'll say that about you. You wonder if anyone back home will hear the real story. The actual story, not the email, not the folded flag, not the scripted condolences from a general who's never seen your face. The knock comes soft. 2 taps, then the door opens. Briefing room. Time. You nod. Stand. Stretch. Your joints pop. Your spine cracks. You feel 100 years old. Your brain says you're ready. Your body says, please don't. You sling your rifle, secure your gear, and walk out into the hallway like you're going to get groceries. That's the trick. Walk like it's normal, even when your heartbeat's trying to punch through your throat. In the briefing room, the map glows red. Satellite images, infrared overlays, target paths. You know it's serious when the unit commander shows up. He doesn't speak much, doesn't need to. He points at the screen, then at the door. Clock starts now. That's it. No good luck. No comeback safe. Just now. You climb into the bird like it's muscle memory. Chinook again. Familiar vibration. Familiar hum. The new guy's across from you. Same nervous hands, same wide eyes. You almost say something. But what would you say? That this is routine? It's not. That it gets easier? It doesn't. That you'll watch his 6? You will, until you can't. So, instead, you tap your mag against his. Clink. That's promise. Engines roar. Wheels up. And suddenly the only thing louder than the rotors is your own breathing. Because this is it. The moment between silence and storm. The last time the world makes sense before it splits apart at the seams. No bullets yet, no blood, just you. A bird full of ghosts. And 6 minutes of darkness left before the breach. The ride in is smooth. Too smooth. No turbulence, no chatter. Just the steady thrum of rotors and the occasional flick of a red light bathing the cabin in that blood-coloured glow that makes everyone look already half dead. You're strapped in, rifle between your knees, head down, brain racing. Your heartbeat isn't pounding anymore, it's waiting. And that's the problem. Because it's always quietest before you lose someone. You glance across the cabin. Everyone's locked in. The new guy is still trying to slow his breathing. The team sergeant's got his eyes closed, not asleep calculating. Harris is checking his nods for the 4th time. And you're counting seconds. 1, 2, 3. The ramp drops with a metallic shriek that cuts through your skull. Go time. You move fast. Quiet. Precise. Boots hit dirt. NVGs go down. The world turns green. And now the game begins. You fan out, 5-meter spacing, muzzles up, eyes scanning every shadow like it might shoot back. Because it might. The air smells like dust and cordite, old blood and cold stone. You've smelled this before in different countries under different skies. It always means the same thing. You're not welcome here. You pass through a wadi, dry stream bed, natural funnel, perfect for an ambush. You slow your pace, ears on fire, fingers twitching on the trigger. One wrong crunch, one flashlight sweep. That's all it takes. You feel sweat sliding down your spine, cold and steady, like your body knows something your brain won't admit. This isn't a normal infill. Something feels off. Not loud. Wrong. You look up. The sky's cloudy. No moonlight, no stars, just shadows and whispers. Perfect night for ghosts. You are the ghost. That's the job, right? Be the thing they never see coming. Be the nightmare that walks on 2 feet and carries suppressed firepower and dead eyes. And yet tonight, you don't feel like the predator. You feel like prey. The compound's ahead. mud brick, 2 stories, barbed wire fencing that's more for show than for keeping people out. You drop to a knee behind a berm. The LT signals. Hold. You wait. Eyes on. And then you see them 2 sentries on the roof smoking. One's got his rifle leaning against the wall. The other looks half asleep. You line up your shot, breath in, half trigger pull, hold. Green light flashes. Go. 1 pop. 2nd pop. Both drop. No alarm. Clean. You're moving again. Fast, low, synchronized. Breach team stacks on the gate, C4 on the hinge. Not enough to bring down the wall, just enough to invite you in. 3, 2, 1 pop. You're through. No yelling. Just footsteps on dirt and the sound of gear brushing against rusted sheet metal. You sweep the courtyard. Nothing. First door, locked. Hallway behind it is pitch black. You kick. It gives. Your muzzle leads. The guy behind you taps your shoulder. Left clear. Right clear. Back room, heat signature. Moving. You step in fast, silent. Single male, no weapon. Too slow to react, too scared to scream. You zip tie him and shove him down. He whimpers something in a language you halfway understand. It's always the same. Please don't. Please wait. Please let me too late. You're not here to negotiate. Not tonight. You pass him off to the follow team. They'll sort it. You move up the stairs slowly now. Slowly's better than dead. Your boot touches the top step and you freeze. Something moved. 2nd room on the right, door cracked. You look back. Signal. Stack. Flashbang. Go. You hit the door like it insulted your mother. Flash pops. Room lights up for a second like God just blinked. You're in. 1 hostile armed, mid-reach. 2 slow. 2 rounds. He drops. You check corners. All clear. And that's when the building shakes. IED ground floor. Someone missed it. Or maybe it was command detonated. Doesn't matter now. You hear it through comms. Harris is down. You turn back. Barrel first down the stairwell. Smoke rising, dust choking. Harris is lying at the bottom, covered in ash and silence. You slide down beside him. His leg's not there anymore. You can't even process it. You just grab a tourniquet and twist until he stops leaking. He's conscious. Barely. Sorry, man, he says, blinking slow. That was mine. You lie to him. No way. You saved us. He smiles. Barely. And then he's out. You call for exfil. Immediate. Priority. The LT nods. Birds rerouting. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That's forever in this game. You drag Harris into cover. Prop him against a wall. Your hands won't stop shaking. Not because of the blood. Because of how fast it happened. 1 second he was behind you, whispering a joke about the new guy. Next second he's missing a leg and gritting his teeth through a war no one sees. You stare at him, trying not to let it show on your face. The new guy stares too. Mouth open, no words. You put a hand on his chest. Look away. You'll see worse. It's not comfort. It's fact. You scan rooftops, sweep with your NVGs, nothing moving. But you know better. Something's coming. You can feel it. And that's the thing with these missions. It's not the gunfight that gets you. It's the 10 seconds before when everything's too quiet and your body knows what your brain won't admit. You reload, wipe your face, spit blood from your lip where the buttstock hit you too hard in the dark. Then the comm crackles. Incoming technical east gate. Of course. They always show up late. You slap the new guy's helmet. Welcome to the game. He nods. Doesn't speak. Smart. You raise your rifle. Finger on the trigger. and wait for the storm to hit, because infill's done. Now it's about extraction. And getting out? That's always worse than going in. It's one thing to prepare, to plan, to rehearse, to walk through plywood rooms with tape on the floor and pretend the danger isn't real. But none of that matters now, because this isn't plywood. This is real. Real walls, real doors, real lives behind them, and real bullets waiting on the other side. You're on the second story, low crouch, rifle up. Harris is on the stretcher behind you, barely breathing. The new guy's watching the stairs like they might explode. And outside, that technical's still rolling in. You hear it now, diesel engine, low gears, the thump of bald tyres chewing up dirt. Someone whispers over comms, .50 cal mounted. Great. There's no cover in the courtyard. No angle to fire down from this window, and no chance of winning if they get through that gate. You check the watch on your wrist. 3 minutes until exfil. But that's an estimate, which means you're on your own. The team sergeant grabs you by the vest. We hold. You nod. Because what else is there? You reload. Again. Even though you didn't fire that many shots. You just want full mags. Because full mags feel like control. And out here, that's the only illusion you can afford to believe in. The new guy's hands are shaking. You whisper, "Get your eyes off your hands." He snaps his head up, locks in. Focus is a choice. Panic is a luxury. And right now, you're broke. The gate groans. Chains rattle. Engine revs. They're coming in. First mistake. Because this team doesn't run. Not now. Not ever. Your TL gives the signal, 3 fingers flicked forward. You take the left flank. The new guy takes the right. And the heavy hitter short barrel red dot no mercy goes centre. The plan's simple. Let them come in. Let them think the place is clear. And then wipe the floor with them. You post up behind a corner window, rifle resting on the ledge. Breath steady, shoulder firm, trigger light. You see at first the nose of the truck creeping through the open gate like a shark sniffing for blood. 3 men up front. Driver, gunner, passenger. Loose formation. No NVGs. You smile, small. Amateurs. You wait. Not yet. Not yet. Now. The gunner shifts to scan left. You fire. 1 shot. Straight through the eye socket. He slumps forward like a marionette with cut strings. You drop to cover as return fire explodes against the wall. Plaster and dust rain down like snow in a burning house. Then your boys move. Fast. Room to room, stairwell to stairwell, laying down lead like gospel. The new guy's earning his patch-controlled bursts, smart angles, no hesitation. You love to see it. For a second you think, we might make it. Then a grenade lands in the hallway. Small metal clunk. That sound you never forget. You don't yell. You move. Hard grab, you slam the new guy back around the corner and throw your body across the breach. The explosion punches the wall out like paper. Your ears go dead. High-pitched hum, vision white. You're still alive. Barely. Something's wet on your arm. Could be blood. Could be water from the busted pipe above you. You crawl, eyes watering, mouth dry, helmet gone. The team sergeant appears through the smoke, hauling the comms guy by one arm like luggage. His voice cuts through the ringing. "Birds here!" You hear the thump of rotor blades, now fast, sharp, close. You drag yourself up. One leg numb. Rifle cracked but firing. You find Harris still breathing, still unconscious. The new guy's already got him halfway to the courtyard. You cover their retreat. 1 shot. 2. Drop a runner trying to flank you from the stairwell. 1 last sweep. Then you sprint. Your boots slam the ground like hammers. Your lungs burn. Every step is borrowed time. You round the corner and see the bird low, skids barely touching down, blades cutting the night in half. You shove Harris up into the arms of the crew chief. You follow, jump, roll. The new guy dives in behind you. And just as the ramp starts to close, a burst of tracer fire slashes past the opening 3 rounds inches from your foot. Too late. The bird's airborne. And for the first time in hours, maybe days, you breathe. Not deep. Not easy. But real. The team sergeant slaps your chest once. Nice work. You nod. Don't say a word. Because right now, you're still in it. The noise hasn't stopped. The blood's still drying, and the new guy's staring at Harris like he's not sure what he just survived. You pat him on the helmet. "Welcome to Delta." He doesn't respond. He just closes his eyes and leans back against the hull. And you stare out the window at the world vanishing behind you. You didn't lose anyone, this time, but your hands are still shaking up, because you know the truth. The green light drops fast, but the dark, it stays. You're back at base. Not home. Not safe. Just back. The bird touches down. Engines scream, rotors wind down, and the second your boots hit the tarmac, it's like the mission never happened. No reporters. No medals. No applause. Just a clipboard guy in glasses asking, "You guys on the earlier manifest or late exfil?" You don't answer. You just walk past. Still carrying Harris's blood on your gloves. Inside the hangar, the light is fluorescent and too bright, like it's trying to expose everything you're not ready to admit. You strip off your gear, 1 piece at a time. Rifle, vest, helmet. You sit on the concrete floor, staring at your boots, and think, what the hell was that? The debrief is quick. Too quick. 2 suits in a corner room with dry voices and scripted questions. Was the target neutralized? Yes. Any complications? Define complications. Any civvies present? You hesitate. The kid in the back room, the woman on the stairs, the old man in the kitchen with the panicked eyes and the trembling hands. You say, negative. They nod. Write something. Don't ask again. Because they don't want the truth. They want check marks. You leave the room with more questions than answers. Which is the point? After action reports are filed by someone else. You're told not to worry about it. Just recover, reset, refit. You take a shower that smells like bleach and old water. You scrub so hard your skin bleeds. Doesn't matter. You still feel the dirt in your soul. Still see the blast flashes behind your eyes. Still hear Harris's voice, slurred and joking before the pressure plate took his leg. He's in a field hospital now, somewhere cold, sterile, under anaesthesia. You think about visiting, but you don't. Because if you see him, you'll have to face the truth. He's gone. Not dead. Worse. He's out. And once you're out, you're no one. The next morning, the briefing room is full again. Same projector, same chairs, same burnt coffee smell, different target. New op, new location, 48-hour turnaround. The guy giving the orders has never seen a firefight in his life. His hands are too clean, his eyes too steady. He points at the map like it's a game board. Your next hit is in Sector 5. Border zone, potential interference from local forces, friendly assets in the area. Rules of engagement are fluid. You raise your hand. Friendly forces? He nods, smiles, says the worst phrase in any briefing room. They know we're coming. That's when your stomach drops. Because friendly territory is the deadliest place to work. Not because of the enemy, but because of the lies. You roll out 18 hours later. Chalk team, 2 birds, 1 mission. Insertion at night. Rooftop drop. Local time, unknown. Comms are quiet. Everyone's thinking the same thing. If they know we're coming, why do we need to sneak in? The LT says it's a formality. You know it's not. You land hard. Roof flexes under the weight of 6 men and 400 pounds of hate. You breach the stairwell fast, clean, 0 resistance, too clean. Downstairs they're shouting. Not in anger, in recognition. These guys are expecting someone. Maybe you. Maybe someone else. Too late to ask. You storm the room, muzzles up, NVGs down. Men in uniforms, but not yours. AKs, radios. No clear markings. You pause. Just for a second. They don't. One of them lifts a rifle. You shoot him in the face. Everything goes sideways. Rounds fly. Ricochets spark off concrete. Someone screams in English. Hold your fire. Too late. Because your fire's already held them. The fight lasts 3 minutes. You clear the building. 6 dead. 2 wounded. One of yours takes a hit to the shoulder deep, but not fatal. The place is silent now. Your chest is heaving. You check the uniforms again. They're supposed to be allies. Supposed to be. You radio it in. Command replies, they weren't supposed to be there. You say, they knew we were coming. Command says, stand by for further instructions. That's it. No apology. No plan. No truth. You stay on site for 4 hours holding a building you never should have entered in a war you're not technically fighting. The new guy keeps glancing at one of the bodies. Young guy, late teens, shot through the temple. Had a patch on his sleeve that matches your last briefing slide. He looks like someone's cousin, not a combatant. The new guy asks, was this a mistake? You don't answer. Because you don't know. Because it doesn't matter. Because in this line of work, truth is just another target. Elusive. Moving. Optional. You extract at dawn. Sunrise hits the bird like a flare in your eyes. You squint. Not because it's bright. Because it's the first honest thing you've seen in days. Back at base, you're told to keep it off record. No incident. No report, no acknowledgement. It didn't happen. You're told to focus on the next. You nod. Because that's the job, right? Forget. Move. Repeat. You pass Harris's empty bunk on the way back to your room. You pause. Think about all the things no one will ever write down. The missed intel, the wrong building, the kid with the wrong face at the wrong time. You sit on your cot, helmet on the floor, rifle on your lap. And for a second, you wonder how many more missions it'll take before you stop wondering anything at all. You're back in the kill house. Not the real one, the practice one. The one built out of plywood and rubber dummies. The one they call training, like that word still means anything. You're holding a sim-round rifle. Gloves on, helmet off, clock ticking, go. You breach fast. Flash. Muzzle. Slice the pie. 1 target. 2. Clear hallway. It's muscle memory now. You don't think you react. You've done this so many times the plywood has your fingerprints burned into it. You finish in 42 seconds. 5 kills. 1. No shoot left untouched. Perfect. They nod. Good run. Reset. You're not breathing hard. Because you know the truth. This isn't a house. It's a lie. A lie you tell yourself so the real thing feels normal. Because when you're inside an actual structure, with real people screaming in languages you don't speak, with real blood and real children watching from closets. There are no clean corners, no perfect shots, just chaos, and rules you're told to follow until you're told to ignore them. They keep saying train like you fight. You used to believe that, until the day you cleared a room overseas, same setup, same rhythm, same hand signals, and came face to face with a 12-year-old holding an AK. In the kill house, that's a fail condition. In the field, you hesitate. He doesn't. You lived. He didn't. They told you it wasn't your fault. Command, team lead, psych eval officer. All reading from the same script. You followed procedure. You made the right call. You had no choice. You nod. Say thanks. But when you close your eyes, you still see his face. Still see the panic. Still feel the muzzle twitch in your hands just before you fired. Because that's what they never explain. The kill house doesn't bleed. Real rooms do. You run the drill again. Door breach. Flashbang. 2 down, 1 hostage. You hesitate half a second, just enough. The instructor marks you. Dead. You nod. Next. After 5 runs, your hands aren't sore. Your brain is. Because the plywood doesn't fight back. The mannequins don't scream. The walls don't crumble when a grenade lands wrong. But you play the game anyway. Because it's what they want to see. Clean clears. Fast splits. Perfect formations. You perform it like theatre. Even though you know the stage is a coffin in disguise. The new guy's running his set now. He moves fast. Too fast. Shoots 3 targets. Misses 1. Hits a no-shoot. The instructor pauses. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast. He nods like he understands. But he doesn't. Not yet. You walk over. Take his rifle. Unload it. Hand it back. Then you look him in the eye and say it plain. This place will get you killed if you believe it's real. He flinches. Good. Better flinching here than dying out there. After training, you hit the range. Live fire this time. Real rounds. Real steel. No cameras. You shoot until your shoulder aches. Until your hands cramp. Until you can't feel the trigger under your finger. And still, it's not enough. Because you know that on the next mission, it won't be a target. It will be a person. And that split second of indecision, it never leaves you clean. That night, back in your room, you stare at the kill house map on the wall. Every room labelled, every breach point marked, every drill a tiny war you already won. But none of that matters, because the walls never scream back. You think about Harris again. Not the leg, not the blood, just his voice. The way he used to mutter fake house, fake training, real bodies. He hated the kill house. Said it made him soft. Now, you get it. Now you hate it too. Because no matter how sharp you shoot, how tight you move, how clean you clear, there's always going to be that one door. That 1 second. That one target you weren't ready for. And in the real world, you don't get reset. You just get ruined. Fear doesn't hit all at once. It creeps in on a timetable. Same way you check your mags. Same way you clean your rifle. Same way you lace your boots tighter before a mission you know might be your last. It's not panic, it's procedure. You wake up with it. Not a scream, not a jolt, just a knot. Right beneath your sternum, like a second heart. Smaller, meaner. And it ticks, tick, tick, tick. You go about your day. Gym, range, briefing, prep. Like you're not hearing your own internal countdown. You keep it quiet. Because in the unit, fear's not something you talk about. It's something you carry. No one wants to hear you say, I'm scared. So instead you say things like, keep your head on a swivel, stay sharp, watch your six. Translation, I'm not ready to die today. You load your kit. Every pouch in place, every strap tight, every spare battery where it needs to be. Because fear doesn't show up as shaking hands. It shows up as over-preparation. You know the layout by memory, the floor plan, the doors, the angles of fire, but you still study it again and again. Like the paper might change on the 5th reading, because you're not afraid of the plan. You're afraid of what the plan missed. You head to the shoot house for warm-up drills. You move smooth, quiet, fast. Everyone says you're locked in. You nod, but inside, you're counting exit points. You're watching your teammates' backs harder than they watch yours. Not because you don't trust them, because you've seen what happens when they go down. One missed shot, one unlucky ricochet. One guy gets lazy with a corner, and you're dragging dead weight across a dirt floor, wondering if you'll even get to call his name in the next briefing. Then it's gear up time. Your pulse changes. Not faster, just harder. Every beat like it's checking in with you. Still good? Still want this? Your hands tighten your gloves. Not too loose, not too tight. Because last time they were too tight, you couldn't reload fast enough. And that mistake still keeps you awake at 3 a.m. You don't need reminders. You have fear. And it's always on time. The bird is warming up on the pad. Dust kicking. Lights low. Comms live. You climb in, and that's when the knot in your chest pulses again. Like it knows. Like it always knows. You don't breathe deep. You breathe steady. There's a difference. Deep means calm. Steady means you're lying to yourself well enough to pass. You look around. Everyone looks calm. But you've been here too long not to see it. The tight jaw. The shallow nods. The hands resting just a little too close to the safety. No one's talking. Because fear doesn't need noise. It thrives in the quiet. The ramp goes up. The bird lifts off. And just like that, you're airborne. No going back. No backing out. You check your rifle for the 3rd time. Still loaded. Still safe. Still in your hands like it means something. And maybe it does. Because at least it's something you can control. Not the mission. Not the intel. Not the moment your foot lands on a pressure plate you didn't see coming. But this you know. Your comms crackle. 2 mics out. You close your eyes. Count to 4. Then back down. You've done that since your first mission. 4 up. 4 down. Like a ritual. Like math for your soul. Because you know what happens when that bird touches down. Doors swing. Muzzles rise. Men die. And you move. Not because you're brave. Because the clock says it's time. And fear's never late. They gave you a plan, they always do. Map, diagrams, timelines, entry, exit, objectives, contingencies. Every possible outcome accounted for on paper. But you've been doing this long enough to know what those plans really are. Suggestions, myths, comfort food for command. Because the second your boots hit dirt, the plan dies. You drop from the bird fast, light, silent, muzzle up, stack tight. The compound looks exactly like the satellite photos. Until it doesn't. First problem, doors welded shut. That wasn't in the brief. You switch to breach number 2. Secondary entrance should be clear. It's not. Tripwire, crude, smart, almost invisible. New guy spots it just in time. You cut it, whisper a thank you to no one and move in. First 2 rooms, empty, dusty. Furniture stacked in weird ways like someone left in a hurry or knew you were coming. That's problem number 2. You signal halt, stack up on the next door, muffled voices, not Arabic, not local dialect. You recognise Russian. That's problem number 3. Because according to every briefing you've seen for 2 weeks, there are no Russian operatives in this region. Guess someone forgot to tell them. You breach anyway. You don't get the luxury of walking away just because Intel lied. Flash in. Door kicks. You're through. 4 men, 3 armed, 1 running. You shoot first, don't think, just muscle memory. The guy trying to run eats 2 rounds in the spine. The other 3 return fire. Short burst. Tight angles. You drop one. Other goes down in crossfire. Last one gets lucky, dives through a side room and disappears. You chase. Not because you want to, because you can't afford to let anyone walk away. Room's narrow, too many shelves, too many shadows. You pause, listen. There. Behind the curtain. You don't wait. 1 round through the fabric. A grunt. Then silence. You rip the curtain back. He's down. But he wasn't reaching for a weapon. He was holding a radio. That's the 4th problem. Because you don't know how much he sent or to who. You search the body. Clean. Professional. No dog tags. No IDs. Just a patch sewn inside his shirt. Black Wolf's head. No unit. No flag. You take it anyway. Because that's the 5th problem. You're not sure which war you're in anymore. You regroup with the team, 3 rooms clear, 2 bodies bagged, HVT not present. The new guy says, "Did we hit the wrong target?" You don't answer, because you're not sure. The LT calls it in. Command responds, adjust, push east, compound 2. East, that's 4 clicks. Through rough terrain, with a ticking clock and unknown hostiles in the area. Great. But you don't argue. You don't complain. You move. Because no plan survives the first point of contact. And your job is to survive everything after. You exfil that building, move fast through the brush. Night vision still holding. But the terrain's bad. Loose rocks, trenches, thorn bushes taller than your shoulders. Every step feels like it's waiting to betray you. The radio squawks again. New intel. Possible armour spotted near compound 2. Armour? Since when do HVTs in backwater hill towns have armour? That's problem 6. You slow the pace, recalculate, adjust routes. And that's the real job, right there. Not shooting, not breaching, not even clearing rooms, adapting. Every 5 seconds. Every new variable. Every piece of intel that turns into a lie the second it's said out loud. You reach a ridgeline. Overlook the second compound, bigger than expected. More guards, floodlights, a vehicle idling near the rear wall. Definitely not a normal safe house. And now you know this was the real target all along. The first one? Diversion, or decoy, or bait. You check your team. They're tired, focused, still breathing. No time for second guessing. You line up for breach 2, and say the quiet part out loud. Plan's dead. Don't wait for orders. Follow the noise. The team nods. Because they already knew. You signal. Flashbang. Breacher moves. The new plan? Live long enough to make a new one. The second you drop into the compound, everything gets louder and smaller at the same time. You've got NVGs down. The world is green again, flat shapes, hard angles. Every movement filtered through that eerie grain like a bad dream you can't wake from. You clear the outer courtyard fast. 2 targets go down before they ever hear the safeties click off. No time to tag and bag. You step over them and keep moving. Because stopping is how people die. You're past the first archway when your comms start to flicker. Static. Garbled. Like someone's jamming your signal or the terrain just doesn't care. That's the first thing to go in a bad night communication. Second is trust. You push forward anyway. You don't need words. You know how the guy to your left moves, breathes, flinches. You've fought beside him enough times to know what he's thinking before he thinks it. That kind of connection, it's rare. And it's always temporary. You stack on the first doorway. The team sergeant goes low, you go high. You breach. Room's tight, crowded. Furniture stacked like barricades. 2 men inside. One has a weapon. The other grabs something that looks like a phone. You shoot both. Clean, controlled. But in your head, you're already asking if one of them didn't have to die. You can't afford to answer that question. Not now. You push to the stairwell. It's narrow, steep, twisting downward into what looks like a basement, maybe a tunnel. The LT hesitates. You don't, because someone has to go first. So you do. Down into the dark. No lights, NVGs only. And this is where it gets bad. Because NVGs work until they don't. You can't see shadows, can't read subtle movements, can't see the flicker in someone's hand when they're deciding whether to fight or run. You're blind in the places that matter. And you know it. Halfway down you catch movement to your right. Flash of metal, low silhouette. Too fast to identify. You fire. The body drops before you even register the shape. You check. Male, young, late teens, chest wound, wasn't armed. You don't say anything. You just move past him. The tunnel opens up into a large room, some kind of storage area. Cement walls, steel crates, the smell of oil and sweat and old death. This isn't a hideout. It's a staging ground. Weapons stacked to the ceiling, radios, gear that doesn't belong here. Western tech. You recognise some of it. US issued, maybe stolen, maybe sold. That part doesn't matter. What matters is this wasn't in the briefing. None of this was. The LT radios command. They don't answer. Of course they don't. Your finger hovers near the push to talk anyway. Then the lights go out. NVGs flash, stutter. EMP, power cut, you don't know. But the green goes black, and your vision collapses to pure instinct. That's when you feel it. Something's in the room. Not panic, presence. You raise your rifle and rotate slow. Click, click. A footstep. You whisper, hold fire. The team halts. Then flashlight beam slashes the dark. Enemy. 6 o'clock. Too close. He fires first. But he misses. You don't. 1 round, 2 rounds, then a flood of motion. The tunnel explodes into chaos. Muzzle flashes. Screams. Your NVGs flicker. Half dead, half blind. You rip them off and go natural. Now it's just raw instinct. You're ducking, pivoting, sweeping left, firing twice, breathing smoke, tasting dust. The guy next to you takes a round to the arm. He doesn't scream, he just drops, rolls, and keeps firing from the floor. That's how you know you're still in good company. No one's running, even though you should be. The firefight lasts less than 40 seconds, but it feels like a lifetime. When the last shot fades, all you hear is ragged breathing and the slow drip of water from a broken pipe overhead. You blink hard. Reattach your NVGs, still flickering. Your world is half vision, half memory now. You clear the room anyway. Bodies on the floor. None of them yours. You find a radio on one of them. It's tuned to your own channel. That's how they were ready for you. That's how they knew. You look at the LT. He looks back. No words. Just that silent agreement between men who now realise they're not just being watched. They're being played, and not by the enemy. You say it first. We've got a leak. He nods. Higher than us. That's the worst kind of fear. Not fear of death. Fear that you're being sacrificed without ever knowing why. You signal to move. This place is compromised. You've got what you need: intel, evidence, truth. Now you just need to survive long enough to do something with it. You lead the way back up the stairs, still half blind, still bleeding, still breathing, because that's what it takes now. Not strength, not courage, just will. Tunnel vision? You've lived in it for years. It's the only way you've made it this far. The mission's over. Not complete, not successful, just over. The bird got you out, barely. You're back on base. Standing, moving, breathing. And none of it feels real. You peel off your gear like dead skin. Vest hits the floor. Helmet rolls. Gloves stick to your hands like they don't want to leave. Your rifle goes on the rack, but your fingers don't unclench for a full minute. You sit on the edge of the bunk, stare at the wall. There's nothing on it. Hasn't been for years. You tried putting up photos once, didn't last long. Too many faces you didn't want to remember. Too many who aren't here anymore. There's a knock. You don't answer. Whoever it is walks away. Good. You're not ready to talk. Not about what happened down there. Not about the leak. Not about the kid with your radio frequency in his hand. You rub your eyes. They're dry, but your vision's still blurry. You drink half a bottle of water, then stare at the other half like it might explode. The room is quiet. Too quiet. And that's when it hits you. You're not in the mission anymore, but your body is. Your heart's still on alert. Your ears are still waiting for the pop of a flashbang. Your hands are still ready to grab a rifle. And the worst part, you don't know how to stop. They say trauma's loud. Screaming, shaking, falling apart in public. They're wrong. The real kind? It's silent. It hides in the moment when everyone else has moved on and you're still stuck 5 minutes before the blast. You take a shower. Hot. Too hot. Try to scrub the smell of burned wood and blood from your skin. You get most of it. Not all. You try to sleep. It doesn't come. You lie in bed, eyes wide, hands over your chest like you're waiting for impact. You hear footsteps outside. Could be a teammate, could be nothing. Your brain tells you it's just bass noise. Your body's already calculating where your sidearm is. You lie like that for hours. In the morning they act like it's a new day. Chow line. Briefings, same jokes, same coffee. Like what you saw doesn't matter. Like the mission was just another box to check. You play along. Smile when someone nods at you. Say good shoot to the guy who covered your 6. But inside, you're still hearing the scream that didn't make it through the static. Still seeing the face of the man you shot before you could confirm he was even armed. Still feeling the recoil in your bones like a heartbeat that forgot how to be human. You head to the gym, hit the weights, hard, fast, because sweat is the only thing you still trust. You don't count reps. You don't even breathe right. You just move until your arms give out. You sit on the floor, chest heaving, and think, why am I still here? Not alive. Just here. Still in uniform. Still walking. Still pretending you can carry it all without losing something vital. Later, you meet with the shrink. Mandatory after action. He sits in a clean room with a pad he doesn't write on. How are you feeling? You say, fine. He nods, doesn't press. You've both done this before. He asks about sleep, appetite, focus. You lie. He lets you. Because this is just protocol. Nobody wants the real answers. Not really. Not when those answers can't be fixed with a pill or a week of downtime. He tells you you're cleared. You already knew. Back in your room, you stare at your rifle again. Not for long. Just long enough. You don't think about using it. You just remember what it felt like to trust it more than your own thoughts. You sit back down. The walls are still blank. Your fingers still twitch. And somewhere deep in your chest, behind the part of you that still knows your name, something cracks. No sound. No scream. Just a shift. Like a gear grinding against metal that used to fit but doesn't anymore. You can't hear yourself break, but you know when it's happening. And right now, you're breaking. Slow. Silent. And alone. You don't forget the first one. Not ever. Not the way they moved. Not the way the trigger felt. Not the exact weight of that second before your world split in two. You remember the smell, hot brass, dirt, something burning. You remember your hands not shaking, not still, just tight. You remember the silence after. How it was louder than the shot itself. You were 21, maybe 22. Still new, still wearing gear like it mattered. Still thought there were good guys and bad guys and that you were on the right side of that line. It was a night raid. Iraq. Small compound. Midsummer heat like fire behind your eyes. Intel said 3 targets. Only 2 were armed. The third one, yours, was standing near the back door when you came in. He looked up. Didn't move. Didn't speak. You had a half second to decide. He was maybe 40. Beard, thin, hands at his side, nothing visible. He didn't raise a weapon. You raised yours anyway. The moment stretched. Because that's how it goes the first time. The world slows down to one question. What if I'm wrong? But here's the part they never teach you. If you wait for confirmation, you're already dead. So, you pulled the trigger twice. Centre mass. He folded backward, hit the wall, slid down like someone unplugged his soul. You stepped over him like you were taught to. Cleared the rest of the building, called it in. Standard. Clean. But nothing felt clean. Afterward, you tried to shake it. Told yourself he was probably a spotter. Probably reaching for a detonator. Probably about to get someone else killed. You repeated it like a mantra. Probably, probably, probably. But that word never gave you peace. Because probably isn't a fact. And in the space between those shots and the body, your soul learned what doubt really feels like. Later that night you cleaned your rifle. Twice. Not because it needed it. Because your hands needed something to do. Your team didn't say much. A few nods. A pat on the shoulder. Good shoot, someone said. You nodded back. Didn't believe it. You went to your bunk. Laid flat. Eyes open until the sky changed colour. That's when it hit you. That shot. It didn't change him. It changed you. People think the first kill makes you harder. It doesn't. It makes you aware. Aware that the line between lawful and lethal is thinner than breath. Aware that pulling the trigger is easy, but carrying it isn't. You started hearing phantom rounds after that. Started flinching at sudden quiet. Started looking at doorways like they might apologise. You didn't tell anyone, because you weren't supposed to care. You were Delta now. Ghosts don't cry, but ghosts remember. You remembered everything. You went back to the spot 2 days later. Same house, same room. His body was gone, but the wall still had blood on it. A spray, a smear, a single handprint halfway down the tile like someone tried to stay standing. You stared at that print for a full minute. Didn't touch it. Didn't speak. Then you walked out and never brought it up again. That was your first. Not the last. Not the worst. But the one that mattered. Because after that night the world changed. It didn't shrink. It just stopped making sense. You learned the job wasn't about justice or peace or flags on uniforms. It was about making choices in the dark and living with them in the light. And the ones who can't, they don't stay long. You stayed. You're still here. But part of you is still standing in that room, sweating under too much gear, staring at a man who never got to explain himself. And the worst part? You never even knew his name. You're the team lead now. That's what the patch says, that's what the briefings say, that's what command calls you when they need someone to take the heat if things go wrong. It's not about age, it's about scars, experience. How many missions you've walked out of that should have killed you, and how many men followed you in and didn't walk out at all. You didn't ask for the role, it found you, like everything else in this world. Fast, quiet, permanent. Now you're the one giving the hand signals, the one who picks the breach points, the one who looks at satellite photos and decides which room will get someone shot first. They call it leadership. You know it for what it is, a mask, something you wear so the guys behind you think someone up front has it figured out. But here's the truth. You never have control. You have momentum, instinct, noise. You have partial intel, bad weather, and a countdown clock taped to your spine. But control? That's the lie that keeps your team moving forward instead of freezing in place. You stand in front of the stack, motion to the comms guy, give the 3-second count with your hand, and right before you hit that door you think, what if this is the one? The one where the floor collapses. The one where the hostage isn't a hostage. The one where the new guy's round skips off the wall and hits your best friend in the back of the neck. But you don't stop. You don't blink. You don't let your breath catch, because they're watching. And if they see doubt on your face, it spreads like blood in water. So you go. Because that's what leaders do. They move like they believe in the plan, even when the plan is unraveling in real time and the only real asset you have left is momentum. You tell them when to breach, when to pause, when to cut the power, when to kill the lights, when to trust the drone feed, and when to trust your gut. And sometimes you're right. Sometimes it works. You take down the target. You walk out with no casualties. You get the thumbs up from command, the dry handshake, the overnight paperwork that buries the chaos in bullet points and timestamps. But sometimes you fail. And when you do, it's not just your weight you carry, it's theirs. Their gear, their blood, their last words. You tell yourself it wasn't your fault, that the breach was compromised, that the informant gave the wrong address, that command forced your hand. But at 2:37 a.m, lying in a bed that smells like sand and gun oil, you replay it frame by frame and ask the question you swore you wouldn't. What if I'd waited 3 more seconds? What if I'd picked the other door? What if I just said no? You don't get answers, you get silence. And that silence builds a second skin. Not armour, just numb. Because the longer you do this, the less it feels like control, and the more it feels like gravity, pulling everything down, faster and heavier each time. You start making calls faster, sharper, not because you're more confident, because you're more aware of how fast it all falls apart. You stop asking for second opinions, you stop triple checking entry angles, you start making peace with the idea that someone on your team might not make it back and that the someone might be you. That's leadership. It's not tactics. It's deciding who gets to live with your decisions and who doesn't. So you move, you plan, you lead. And when the mission ends, you take the report, you sign the form, you say the name of the one who didn't make it without flinching. Because that's the job. Keep it together. Pretend the mask is your real face. And never, ever let them see how much of you's already gone. You're back out. Another op. Another dust-choked village with too many shadows and not enough answers. The mission's the same as the last 5. Find the source. eliminate the threat, recover intel. But the problem isn't the plan, it's the silence. Your informant's dead. He died before you even boarded the bird. You found that out 2 hours in, after a fire team dropped into an empty safe house and came back with 3 bodies and 0 leads. The guy who was supposed to point the way? He's ash now. They dumped a mortar through his ceiling while he slept. Just another ghost in a war full of them. You'd think someone would call it off. Adjust. Would brief? No. Instead, command says, stick to the route. Proceed as planned. Like the plan ever mattered. Like the man who was going to walk you through the maze wasn't the only thing keeping you from walking into a trap. So now you're leading a team through a map drawn by a dead man, hoping the last thing he said was right, hoping he didn't lie, hoping he wasn't already compromised and sending you into the meat grinder as his parting gift. You walk with your rifle up, eyes forward, trying not to look at the windows, because every one of them might be the last thing you ever see. You're not even pretending to feel safe. You just pretend not to care. The village is wrong. It's too clean. No trash, no livestock, no kids. A place that should be noisy and messy and alive feels like a museum exhibit. Frozen, curated, ready for the blast. You signal stop. Team fans out. Everyone posts on Overwatch positions, rifles shaking just a little from the tension. You radio base. Static. You already knew it would be. The target compound is ahead. Tall walls, metal gate, 1 tower, no movement, at least none that wants to be seen. You scan the upper windows, no curtains, just black eyes staring back. You give the order, breach in 5. Everyone moves like clockwork, fast, efficient, quiet. Because silence is the only advantage left. The door gives, not locked. Bad sign. You enter. Empty room. No furniture, no power. Smells like bleach and regret. Then you see it on the floor. A phone, still warm. Screen cracked. Open text reads, "They're here." Trap. You yell contact just as the wall explodes. Heat, shrapnel, ears gone, vision white. You hit the floor with a dead man's name on your tongue. You pull yourself behind a table that used to be a door and check your team. One's down, not moving. 2 others pinned. You lay down suppressive fire and scream over comms. Ambush, ambush, grid 7 Bravo, immediate evac required. Nothing but static. Then a voice. Not one of yours. Deep, calm, familiar with your language. You're predictable. You freeze. Not from fear, from recognition. It's him. The man you were supposed to kill 2 months ago. The one who escaped. The one they said was dead. The one the informant swore was gone. He wasn't gone. He was watching. This isn't a raid, it's a message. You see a camera in the corner, red light blinking. He wants you on tape. You give him nothing. Not a flinch, not a word. You go loud instead. Frags. Bursts. Flashbangs. Chaos. You pull your wounded out, lay down a wall of fire. Call for air support you know won't come in time. This isn't extraction anymore. It's escape. You lose another man on the street. He was the quiet one. Used to hum to himself while checking gear. Gone in half a second. No scream. Just a fall. You carry the body 3 blocks before you realise you're leaving a blood trail a mile wide. You lay him down. Force yourself not to look at his face. You take a turn through an alley and find an old tunnel system beneath a collapsed school. Your TL remembers the blueprints. You slip in. Dark. Wet. Rats. It's safer than the surface. That's how bad it is. You stay low for 2 hours. No food, no water, just hope. Eventually a drone finds you, brings a team. They lift you out one by one. No cheers, no relief. Just dust and silence. Back at base you file the report. Casualties, 2. Injuries, 3. Objective status, compromised. Command asks for coordinates of the ambush. You give them, but you leave out the voice. You leave out the camera. You leave out the name you recognised. Because they won't believe you. Because the man you were supposed to kill is dead on record. And dead men don't give orders. Dead men don't ambush you. Dead men don't speak. But he did. He's still out there. And now you know he's watching. There are two kinds of fear in this life. The kind that screams and the kind that whispers. The firefights, that's the scream. Loud, fast, unavoidable. You don't have time to think, you just react, move, shoot, survive. But it's the other kind that really gets you. The one that creeps in when everything's too quiet. The false alarm, the second where nothing happens, but something might. You've been running ops long enough to stop fearing the firefights. You know how to handle chaos. You've trained for that, lived it, bled through it. But silence makes you crazy. You're sitting in the back of a Black Hawk, middle of nowhere, just past midnight. Intel says possible HVT movement through a mountain pass. Possible, that word again, always possible. Like you're supposed to risk everything for a rumour wrapped in satellite grain. You land, dust swirls, radios up, NVG's down, no lights, no sound. You split team, 2 elements. Take the high side. It's your third op this week, but this one's different. Not because of the threat, but because there isn't one. Not yet. And that's worse. You creep through shale and brush. Boots sinking into dirt that hasn't felt a human foot in months. The place is dead, no birds, no wind, not even a breeze. The air feels like it's waiting. You post up on a rock ledge, binoculars out, scan the pass, 10 minutes, nothing, 20, still nothing. But your gut's tight, like something's out there, like a shadow just out of range. You don't say anything. You don't want to spook the team, but the younger guys, they feel it too. You can see it in their posture, the way their rifles track corners that don't exist. Then it happens, one glint. Far ridge, maybe glass, maybe metal. You freeze, no sudden moves, no call-outs. You key your mic, whisper low. Eyes on, possible scope, far ridge, 11 o'clock. Your spotter confirms. I see it. Then nothing, no shot, no movement. You wait. 30 seconds. Still nothing? Was it a reflection? Maybe. Maybe. That word again. You keep watching. Muscles stiff. Eyes burning. But no one shoots. Nothing moves. And slowly the team's tension starts to drop. Somebody says, "Could have been a rock." You don't respond. Because it doesn't matter if it was or wasn't. The damage is already done. Your body's already lit up like you're in contact. Adrenaline dumped. Heart pounding like war drums in your throat. But there's no enemy, no target. Just that almost. That what if. You exfil 2 hours later. Still no contact. Still no confirmation. Command calls it a dry run. Says it was good practice, good discipline. You nod. Play along. But you don't forget how it felt. Because the firefight, that would have been easy. The firefight you can understand. It's the false alarms that eat at you. The slow burn, the tension with no release, the storm that never comes. It teaches your body to react to ghosts, so next time, you're quicker on the trigger. And maybe that means you drop a threat before they move. Or maybe it means you shoot someone who doesn't deserve it. That's the cost. Every false alarm chips a little more off the edge of your hesitation. Until one day you stop waiting. You stop wondering. You see a flicker and you shoot. And if it's a scope, you live. If it's a camera lens, a mirror, a kid, you carry that. Because the firefight ends. But the silence? The silence never does. Nobody celebrates the ride home. That's the part they don't show in movies. The exfil, the final sprint, the retreat without banners. It's not heroic. It's not clean. It's just survival. You've done the work, you've taken the shots, you've left pieces of yourself behind in rooms you'll never see again. And now you're trying to get out with whatever's left. The bird is late. You're pinned behind a wall that's crumbling with every shot. One man down, one wounded. You're out of grenades and almost out of options. And still, command says hold position, wait for extraction. Like the enemy is going to respect the clock, like they care what time your ride was scheduled to arrive. You apply a tourniquet with shaking hands. You don't even know whose blood it is anymore. It doesn't matter. You just wrap, tighten, move. Your ears are ringing. Your mouth tastes like sand and carbon. You fire 3 more rounds around the corner and drag the wounded closer to cover. 5 mics out, says the voice in your ear. That's a lifetime. You remember being told that exfil was the easy part. Get in, do the job, get out. Simple. But you learned fast. Getting in is clean. Getting out is chaos. You scan the skyline, no bird. The LT is bleeding from the shoulder. Keep saying he's good, he's not. You give him your last morphine pen, he doesn't thank you, just nods. That's how it works. Another burst of gunfire rakes the wall, dust flies, chips of concrete bite into your arm. You don't even flinch, you're beyond that now. 2 mics. You look at the new guy, he's frozen. Eyes locked on nothing, trigger finger limp. You crawl over, grab his vest and yank him nose to nose. Breathe! He nods. You lie. We're almost out. He nods again. Doesn't blink. His eye look like glass. The bird comes in low, fast, loud. Rotor wash slams the ground. Dust explodes upward. You signal the team. Move. You run. Half limp, half carry. Bullets kick up around your feet like rain hitting pavement. You shoulder the wounded up onto the ramp. Shove the new guy in after. Dive. The crew chief grabs your vest and hauls you inside. Ramp closes. Rounds ping the metal behind you. You don't feel safe. You just feel away. The bird lifts. You lie on the floor, chest heaving, hands open, empty. No cheers, no handshakes, no nods of approval. Just bodies. Breathing, bleeding, silent. The bird banks left. Hard. You look out the window. See the compound burning behind you. You don't feel victory. You just feel done. That's extraction. It's not glory. It's escape. And even then, you leave something behind. Gear, blood, time. Pieces of yourself you didn't even know you could lose. And if you're lucky, all you bring back is the weight. You tell yourself you're used to it. The loss, the names that disappear from the roster, the bunks that go empty, the lockers that get cleaned out before the blood on your boots has dried. You tell yourself you're numb to it, that it's just part of the job, but that's not true. You don't forget them. You carry them, not as names, as weight. Harris, Thompson, Reed. Names you don't say out loud anymore because when you do they echo. They bring silence, and silence is worse than noise. They said Thompson bled out before the medevac got there. You saw it happen. You were holding his leg, pressing down so hard your forearms went numb. He told you to stop, said it didn't matter. You lied. Told him it was just a graze, that he'd be fine. He smiled, called you a shitty liar. Then he stopped talking. Reed took a round in the temple. You didn't even see it until you turned to give a command and he was already down. No sound, no twitch. Just there 1 second, gone the next. He had a wife, baby on the way. You read the letter he left in his ruck. Didn't tell anyone. It wasn't your place. You folded it, kept it, never opened it again. Harris stepped on a mine. Legs gone, bleeding out in dirt that smelled like burned plastic and metal. He cracked a joke. Told you to save the boots. You laughed, then you cried. But only after he was out of earshot. They don't come home, not really. Sure, their bodies might. In boxes, with flags, with processions. You've been to 24 military funerals and still don't know how to stand still during taps. Your back stiffens, your jaw clenches. You don't blink, because if you do, you might break. The worst part, you forget their voices. Not the sound, the rhythm, the way they laughed, the way they said your name when you were half awake, covered in sweat mid-patrol. That fades first. Then the memories blur, the moments mix. You see their faces in dreams, but not clearly, more like shadows, hints. You reach for them, but they are already gone. You keep their patches, their little jokes written in Sharpie on the inside of helmets. You never wash those off. Some part of you thinks it keeps them close. The team doesn't talk about them. Not really. Maybe a joke. Maybe a story. Never the moment. Never the actual end. Because you all know if you open that door, you might not shut it again. You learn to live with ghosts. You expect them. You give them space. Some nights you even make room for them beside you on the bed because the air feels heavier than it should. You start talking to them. Quiet. Not crazy, just habitual. Watch my 6. You'd laugh at this. Wish you were here? They don't answer, but the silence feels better with their names in it. You used to pray. You stopped after read. Now you just press your hand to your chest and whisper the names before a mission, like a ritual, like armor. They don't come home. They haunt. Every door you clear, every corner you slice, every time you take the shot and wonder if they would have hesitated. You don't talk about them in therapy. You don't write their names on walls. You don't need to, because they never left. They just moved inside. It always starts the same way. Stack on the wall, boots planted, gloves flexing, heart pacing like it knows what's about to happen before your brain catches up. You listen to the countdown like it's scripture. 3, 2, 1, breach. It doesn't matter how many times you've done it. The first second is always the same, pure instinct. You're not thinking, you're acting. Muscle memory from 1,000 hours in kill houses, 1,000 dry runs, 1,000 times repeating the motion until it replaced your identity. You're not a man anymore. You're a weapon with a rhythm. Door kicks, flashbang goes, bang, then it hits. Light, noise, movement. Muzzle flashes that burn through your NVGs. Screams, sometimes, not always. Sometimes it's just shapes and shadows. You move anyway, because if you stop, you die. If you wait, someone else dies. Left corner, target, 2 shots, drop. Sweep the room. Call it. Clear. But it's never really clear. Because even after the dust settles, something always lingers. The smell. The sound of a body hitting tile. The quiet between gunshots that makes your skin crawl. You step over what's left. Push to the next door. Stack. Breathe. Repeat. That's the cycle. That's the machine. Breach. Bang. Bury. The bury part comes last, but it's always with you. You tell yourself it's about precision, about doing it right, that if you're perfect you won't have to bury anyone that matters, but perfection's a myth, something they teach you in training but forget to remind you is impossible in a real room with real blood and real heat and real decisions that take half a second and cost everything. You still aim for it, because the only other option is chaos, and chaos eats men like you for breakfast. You learn to count your steps between rooms, 6 to the hallway, 3 to the breach, 2 shots, sweep right, 1 call out, 5 to the next. It becomes like prayer, numbers that keep you sane, until one day, 1 number's off, 1 more shadow in the corner, 1 less round in the mag, 1 boot slips, 1 angle's bad, and you bury someone. You carry their name in your chest pocket. You say it like a whisper you don't want to remember. But it's always there, a ghost in your rhythm, a crack in your cadence. It changes you, doesn't stop you. Just rewires the way your hands move when the door blows. You start checking corners twice. You take 1 more heartbeat before stepping in. Not hesitation, not fear, just adaptation. But even that costs you. Because that extra second, that's time. And time is the most expensive thing you can spend in a firefight. Command doesn't care about rhythm, they care about outcomes, mission success, kill confirmed, objective secure. They don't list what it took to get there. They don't mention the breath you held before pulling the trigger on a 16-year-old because he looked like he was going for something under his jacket. They just say good work, and move on to the next target. So you do the same. You clean your rifle, reset your kit, check your nods, run the checklist. Over and over until it feels like you're prepping for someone else's death. Because maybe you are. You lie in bed and go through the motion in your head. Door, breach, flash, entry, left, right, target, shots, call out, move, again, and again, and again. Not because you need practice. Because if you stop, you might remember the kid who didn't scream when you shot him. The man in the corner holding a radio, not a rifle. The woman with a detonator in one hand and her child in the other. You tell yourself the rhythm protects you. But it doesn't. It just keeps you moving. Keeps you from thinking too long about who you are when the shooting stops. You go through missions like clockwork now. Clean, efficient, mechanical. The new guys think it's experience. They call you a machine. You're not. You're just hollowed out. Emptied by repetition. Because once you've kicked enough doors and dropped enough bodies, the breach doesn't feel like the beginning anymore. It feels like the end. The bang isn't adrenaline, it's routine. The bury isn't something you do after. It's something you carry into the room with you, every single time. You don't talk about it. They wouldn't get it. They see the kill count. You see the ghosts. You used to think casualties were simple. A body, blood, a hole where something vital used to be. You'd see it, call it, record it. KIA, WCA, tagged, bagged, accounted for. But after enough missions you learn the truth. Not all casualties bleed. Some just go quiet. Some vanish behind their own eyes. Some walk off the bird looking fine. And never come back. Even if they never leave. You've seen it. You've lived it. The guy who stares too long at nothing. The one who laughs too hard at things that aren't funny. The one who sleeps in full kit, even on base, because somewhere in his head the war hasn't stopped. Maybe that guy's you now. You start forgetting things. First small stuff. Where you left your gloves. Whether you chambered the round. What day it is. Then it's faces. Names. Why you came into the room. What your mother's voice used to sound like. You tell yourself you're tired. That it's just tempo, just pace. But deep down you know better. You're not losing time. You're losing parts of yourself, bit by bit, unseen wounds. No one tells you that's what happens. That your memory takes hits just like your body. That your identity bleeds out in seconds while your hands are still steady on the trigger. You don't know who you are anymore without the noise, without the headset, without the countdown in your ear. So you stay close to it. You volunteer for extra sets. You linger in the kill house. You don't take your full leave. Because the mission may be killing you slowly, but at least it gives you something. A rhythm, a role, a reason. The outside, that's where the real damage shows. You try to do normal things. Talk to your brother, visit your dad. You sit across from them, watching their mouths move, nodding when you should, smiling when it seems right. But inside, you're scanning the room, tracking the exits, measuring the angles, listening for sounds that aren't there. They ask how it's going. You say, busy. You say, good. You lie. Because how do you explain to someone that your heart only feels steady when you're in the back of a bird, gear on, rifle across your chest? How do you explain that you haven't actually felt safe since you came home? So you keep the uniform on, even when it's off, in your posture, in your silence, in the way you sit with your back to the wall. You talk to your teammates more than your family, because they get it. They don't ask stupid questions. They don't push. They've all seen it too. The guy who used to be the loudest on teams suddenly going mute. The best breacher freezing mid-stack. The medic who can't be near blood anymore even when it's just training. Casualties. But not the kind you can report. Not the kind that gets medals or flags or folded notes. You wonder what your number is. You wonder if someone else is watching you for the signs. You laugh. Quietly. Because if they are, they're late. You stopped sleeping weeks ago. You close your eyes and see rooftops, lasers, smoke, Hear the sound of boots pounding concrete. Feel the trigger tighten. You wake up in a sweat that smells like cordite. You don't tell the doc. He'd write it down, mark the file, start the clock. You're not ready to be benched. You're not ready to be useless. Because this job, it's not just what you do, it's who you are. And if the mission stops, what's left? You try to imagine a life without targets. You can't. So you keep going. You tape your fingers where the nerves twitch. You double knot your boots so you don't have to stop moving. You drink too much coffee, sleep too little, laugh too loud, go too quiet. And every now and then someone asks if you're okay. You say you're good. But inside, you know you've already been hit. Not by a round, not by shrapnel, by the weight of carrying too much, too long, too alone. You're walking wounded. And in this life, there's no evac for that. You're out, that's what they say, you've turned in the gear, signed the forms, smiled for the camera at the farewell brief. Thank you for your service. The line gets said so much it stops meaning anything, like you've just finished a shift at some job that ends at 5. But this job doesn't end. Not really. Not for people like you. You're still waking up at 4:30, still shaving like someone's going to inspect you, still folding your shirts like they matter. You go to the gym and run the same circuits. You check the mirrors like there's a rifle on your back you forgot to strap in. You walk through parking lots scanning for cover. You sit at restaurants with your back to the wall. You hear the coffee grinder in the morning and your heart rate spikes like you're hearing a burst from an AK. You're not in anymore, but your body didn't get the message. You get job offers, corporate security, training contracts, government consulting, people who want to use your experience without touching your scars. They call you operator like it's still a badge, but the missions they offer don't mean anything. There's no team, no stack, no weight, no blood. Just suits and buzzwords and fake urgency. You take one of the jobs anyway, because bills don't care what you saw. They don't care how many names you whisper at night when no one's around. They just show up, like everything else. You try to make it work. You buy a couch. You paint the walls. You even try sleeping without your boots close by. But every room you walk into feels like a breach. Every conversation feels like it's missing something. You go on dates. They ask you what you did. You give them the short version. They nod, ask polite questions, smile like it makes sense. It doesn't. You're still scanning their eyes, reading posture, counting exits, wondering what they'd do if someone kicked in the door mid-laugh. You can't relax, because relaxing got people killed. So you stay sharp, stay alert, stay empty. The phone rings one day. It's one of the guys. Old team. Says another one checked out. Not a bullet, not a bomb, just stopped showing up. They found him in a garage. Half-finished bottle. Empty silence. No note. You don't say much. You don't have to. Because you've had the same thought a dozen times at 2 a.m, staring at a ceiling you don't remember painting. You wonder how long you've got left before the mission you can't explain finally buries you. You sit on the edge of your bed and stare at the wall, like maybe it'll blink first. It doesn't. So you do what you've always done. You get up. You lace the boots. You walk out the door. Because somewhere out there, a piece of you still believes the mission isn't over. Not because you've got a new target, but because you don't know what to do without one. You keep moving, not toward anything, just away from everything that's trying to catch up. You volunteer for things you shouldn't. You drink just enough to sleep, not enough to forget. You learn to say the right words in therapy, the ones that keep them from locking the doors or taking your clearance. You laugh when you're supposed to, nod when someone says they appreciate your service. You keep your stories short. You keep your rage buried. You keep your shame dressed in discipline. And every now and then, when no one's looking, you say their names, just to remind yourself you're not completely gone yet. The mission never ends. It just changes uniforms. It's not the medals, not the plaques, not the photos buried in a drawer you never open. That's not what they'll remember. If they remember you at all, what you leave behind, it's different. It's quieter. It's heavier. You don't leave footprints, you leave shadows. There's a storage unit back home, somewhere outside Fayetteville. You haven't opened it in years. Inside, a duffel with your first uniform, a few spent shell casings you swore you'd throw away, a helmet with blood on the inside, not yours. There's a letter you wrote once, Deployment 2, folded, untitled, meant for someone who never got to read it. You don't even know who it was for anymore. Just that you wrote it at 3 a.m. in a hangar lit by buzzing fluorescence, with the smell of oil and dust in your nose and a plane waiting to take you somewhere that didn't exist on any map. That letter, it's still sealed. You don't need to read it. You already know what it says. Everything you couldn't say when it mattered. Everything you still can't. There's a guy you trained once. Bright-eyed, fast, hungry. You taught him how to shoot, how to breathe through pain, how to push past the point where most people fall apart. He made it through selection, went on his first op, didn't make it to his second. You didn't go to the funeral. You just opened your locker and sat still for 3 hours. Because some things you don't attend. Some things you carry. There's a woman you almost married twice. First time she left, second time you did. She said she couldn't compete with the job. You told her it wasn't a competition. She was right. You didn't choose her, you chose the mission. Every time. That's what the patch meant. Not excellence, not strength, just priority. You knew what mattered most, even when it shouldn't have. There's a part of town you don't go near, not because of danger, because of memory. A bar where a guy from your unit picked a fight with a civilian and got arrested. You had to clean it up, quiet, fast. He was gone 3 weeks later. Not by court-martial, just gone. There's no monument for that. No folded flag. Just absence. What you leave behind isn't clean. It's mess, confusion, dust in the corners of other people's lives. You don't retire from this. You just stop showing up. But it never really stops showing up for you. You leave behind gear that smells like dirt and fear and diesel. You leave behind habits that don't make sense to anyone else. You leave behind stories you don't tell because the punchline ends in silence. You leave behind the version of yourself you used to be, the one who believed in beginnings. What you carry out isn't pride, it's weight. You don't walk tall, you walk forward, because that's the only direction this life ever taught you. No rear view, no rewind, just go. You wonder sometimes what happens when they clean out your locker, if they'll pause, if they'll ask who you were. They won't. They'll see a nameplate, some worn boots, maybe a photo, and they'll move on. Because that's how it works. New man in the bunk, new gun on the wall, same mission, different ghosts. You don't get remembered, you just echo. You've been back for years now. That's what the calendar says, and that's what the papers say. Honourable discharge. Served with distinction. The kind of language that fits into frames. But no one tells you what to do with the part that doesn't fit in a frame. The part that's still running missions while your body's standing in line at the grocery store. They told you the war ends. It doesn't. It just changes shape. Some days, it's a flash in your periphery, the way sunlight hits a windshield. You're back in the convoy, sweating behind armour, waiting for the pressure plate to click. Other days, it's a noise, a dropped glass, a loud bang, something that sends your heart sprinting without your permission, a reflex you never unlearned. War doesn't fade, it settles. It lingers in your habits, in your posture, in the way you still check every window, still read every room, still sleep light, still wake before dawn, no matter how late you went to bed. Your body is on a timer that never resets, always counting down, even when there's nothing left to count to. You talk less now, not because you don't have anything to say, because the words don't feel like they belong to you anymore. You've spoken in code for so long you forgot how to speak for real. People ask, what was it like? You give them the safe version. Dusty, hot, complicated. You don't tell them about the kid you carried out of the blast zone with no legs. You don't tell them about the man who looked you in the eyes before you pulled the trigger. You don't tell them about the time you watched your teammate bleed out with his hand in yours, whispering a name you didn't recognise. Those stories don't land right in civilian rooms. You tried once, early on. The table went quiet. Someone said, "Man, I could never do that." Another said, "Thank you for your service." Then they changed the subject. They always change the subject, so now you don't bring it up. You let them thank you. Let them guess. Let them believe whatever version helps them sleep. Because you've stopped sleeping. You stare at ceilings in unfamiliar homes. You move every year, even when you don't have to. You say it's for work. It's not. It's because roots feel dangerous. Like if you stay too long, something will find you. A part of you still wants the call. Not from family, from command. From someone saying, "We need you." Because when you're needed, you have purpose, orders, boundaries, and right now, everything is static. There are mornings where your hands shake while pouring coffee. You say it's the caffeine, but you know the truth. You woke up hearing mortar fire that wasn't there. You smelled cordite in your pillow. You reached for your sidearm before your eyes even opened. There are nights where you can't sit still, so you drive nowhere. Just motion. Radio off, windows down, trying to outrun a war that's already inside you. You see your reflection in shop windows, never recognise it. The man you used to be had jokes, had warmth, had a voice that wasn't built out of gravel and silence. Now, you don't remember his laugh. You don't remember the last time you laughed without faking it. You don't cry either. You just go blank. The VA gave you pamphlets, breathing exercises, cold showers, support groups. You showed up to one. A guy across the room was talking about how he lost his dog and couldn't function. You got up and left. Because you weren't angry. You were scared. Scared that you might be the one who doesn't belong anymore. You weren't built for peace. That's the thing they don't warn you about. You train a man to walk into hell and call it home, then you expect him to walk back into a quiet life and act like he never lived with fire in his lungs. But you did, and part of you still does. You carry the smell of burned rubber and diesel like cologne. You carry scars you can't point to on a body. You carry questions you stopped asking years ago. Were we right? Did it matter? Do they even remember? You tell yourself it was for the guy to your left and right, the only truth that stuck. But even that starts to slip sometimes, especially when you visit a grave with your hands shaking and no words in your throat. The mothers cry, the fathers try to stay tall, the kids don't know what the flag means yet. You stand in uniform, silent, choking on words like honour and sacrifice, because you've said them too many times to believe they mean what they're supposed to anymore. War never left you. It just took off the uniform and moved into your spine. So you adapt. You survive. Not heroically, just barely. You find small reasons to stay human. You fix your coffee the same way every day. You keep your boots clean. You keep your rifle locked away, but not too far. You plant a tree even if you think it might die. You write a name down in a notebook you don't show anyone, just to remember it's real, that they were real. You keep a light on in the hallway, not because you're scared of the dark, it's because part of you never really left the breach. And that light, it's not for comfort, it's a signal that you're still fighting, that you haven't gone under yet. that even if the war never ends, you're still here, one foot in front of the other, one name at a time. It's dark. You're home, not deployed, not on mission. The room is quiet, still, even safe. But that doesn't matter, because the war doesn't stop just because the world says it's bedtime. You've fought through gunfire, chaos, the worst of humanity, but here, alone in the dark, you face something harder. Sleep. It sounds easy, basic, but not for you, not anymore. You don't fall asleep. You drift into it, slowly, carefully, like clearing a room you've been in before but know too well to trust. You keep the blinds closed even when it makes the room too quiet. You keep your sidearm close, not because you'll need it, but because not having it makes your pulse tick faster. You've tried everything. Melatonin, warm tea, blackout curtains, white noise machines. But none of that reaches the part of your brain that still thinks it's 2 a.m. in Mosul or Fallujah, or some mountain valley in Afghanistan where the sky felt too close and the stars looked like they were watching you. You've slept in places most people couldn't survive. Dirt floors, cramped Humvees, rooftops under sniper cover. You've passed out next to blood and shrapnel, woken up mid-breach. You know what tired is. But this is different. This is exhaustion with no exit, because the second your eyes close it starts. Not dreams, replays. It's not a movie, there's no structure, no resolution, just fragments. The crack of a rifle, the static on comms, the weight of someone's body going limp in your arms, the sound of your own breath when you realised you were the only one still alive. You jerk awake, heart pounding, palms slick. You reach for the rifle that isn't there, for the vest that's folded in storage, for the voice in your ear that used to mean someone had your six. But you're alone. And that silence? It's louder than gunfire ever was. You sit up, feet on the floor, breathe. But your lungs don't feel right. Your ribs feel like armour that forgot how to open. You walk the apartment like it's a perimeter check. Fridge hums, clock ticks, streetlight spills under the door. All calm, all wrong. You consider the couch, it doesn't help. You consider the floor, sometimes it does. You consider staying up, again. Because at least awake, you're in control. People talk about insomnia like it's inconvenience. For you, it's survival. Because when you sleep, the war has you. You're back in the compound, back on the gun, back watching a teammate's body hit the floor with the kind of sound you'll never forget, no matter how many years pass. Some nights you cry. You don't tell anyone. Not because you're ashamed, but because you know how they'll react. They'll say things like, "You're safe now." They'll mean well. But safe is just a word people use when they've never seen what you've seen. Safe is what people think you feel in a room without locks, without backup, without command in your ear telling you where to run when things go sideways. You don't trust safety. You trust alertness. You trust the part of you that doesn't sleep, that stays up watching the door, that still remembers which direction the rounds came from, even after all these years. That part of you is tired, but it refuses to rest, because it remembers what happened the last time you let your guard down. So you walk the hall again, check the window, check the lock, check your breathing. You don't sleep. You maintain. You drift. You fight the weight behind your eyelids like it's a physical enemy, and when you finally pass out, it's not surrender. It's collapse. You wake up 3 hours later, drenched in sweat, heart racing, mouth dry. You sit up. Same routine, different night. And in that moment, bleary-eyed, alone, you realise something no one ever told you. The war doesn't just change how you fight, it changes how you sleep. Because if you sleep, you dream. And if you dream, you remember. And if you remember, you relive. So, you stay awake. Because that's the only battlefield where you're still in charge. They say you made it home. You stepped off the plane. You touched down. You heard the wheels hit American soil and someone said, "Welcome back." Maybe they clapped. Maybe they saluted. Maybe they just nodded like that moment meant everything. But you didn't feel anything. Because the truth is, coming home doesn't feel like coming back. It feels like getting dropped into a place you used to know, only now it's looking at you like a stranger. You stepped off the bird expecting relief. Instead, you felt exposed. Like everyone was watching you, but nobody saw you. Like the gear was off, but the weight hadn't gone anywhere. You walked through the airport in uniform. People smiled, said thank you. Some avoided your eyes, some looked too long. None of them understood. And how could they? You just came from a place where silence meant death. And now you're standing under fluorescent lights while a child plays with a tablet next to a smoothie kiosk. Your ears still rang. Your body still flinched when the intercom crackled. You smiled at the woman handing you your coffee, but your hand hovered over your hip where your sidearm used to be. Home didn't feel like home. It felt like an unsecured landing zone. Too open, too unguarded, too fake. You drove the same roads you used to know by heart, only now the signs looked wrong, too clean, too bright. Your hometown didn't change, but you did. The stoplights felt like countdowns. The houses all had windows that didn't look fortified. The cars moved in ways that felt unpredictable. You went to the store for toothpaste, stopped halfway down the aisle, hands twitching, because someone's shopping cart rolled behind you and your body thought it was a threat. You walked past people in line. They looked bored, frustrated, complaining about a price hike or their phone battery dying. You looked at them like they were from another planet. Because in your world, those things didn't matter. You don't get annoyed when you've held someone's hand while they bled out. You don't yell at a cashier when you've pulled a trigger and watched a man drop because he was wearing the wrong patch. You don't sweat the small stuff after you've watched friends get zipped into bags and loaded onto choppers under moonlight. But they don't know that. So you nod, you smile, you play along. Because the truth, you're not home. You're on a mission. A long one, silent, unwritten, undeclared. Home is just another landing zone. And every room you walk into feels like it could go hot. Every conversation feels like a briefing where you're expected to lie. How are you doing? You say, fine. That word again, easy, empty, safe. You don't tell them that you can't sleep, that your hands shake when the microwave beeps, that you park your car facing the exit in case you need to leave now. You don't explain that the house is too quiet, too vulnerable, that you still keep your boots by the door, that you haven't worn socks that aren't military issue in years because they just feel wrong. You've got a couch now, a TV, a life that's supposed to be normal, but every part of it feels temporary, like it's borrowed, like someone else is going to walk through the door and ask you what the hell you're doing here, because you don't belong in this kind of quiet. You belong in movement, in orders, in dust and mud and adrenaline. Not because you love it, but because you understand it. Because war made sense in ways peace never did. You didn't have to explain yourself over there. You didn't have to justify the scars. You didn't have to pretend you were okay. Now, you've got to smile like you haven't seen what you've seen. Laugh like it's easy. Sit at a dinner table and talk about the past like it's actually past. It's not. It's with you, every second, every step. Home didn't take the war out of you. It just trapped it inside four walls. You've tried dating, it never lasts. You're not cold, you're just tired. Tired of pretending to be something other than a weapon, trying to remember. You used to be a man. They ask you questions. You give half answers. They say things like, just talk to me. You want to. You really do. But how do you talk about watching a child walk into a firefight because someone put a vest on them? How do you explain what it felt like to stare down a scope at a man who looked like your father and had to pull the trigger anyway? You can't. So you say you're fine. You always say you're fine. You pass neighbours in the hallway and give the nod. You do your laundry, you pay your bills, you go to the gym like clockwork. But you're not living. You're maintaining, stabilising, executing the most dangerous op of your life. Trying to be normal, trying to pass, trying not to let the cracks show. Because the truth is, you never left. Not really. You just changed terrain. You traded dirt roads for pavement. You traded uniform for jeans. But the mission didn't end. It just went quiet. You're still clearing rooms in your head. Still scanning. Still listening for threats. Still watching for the flash of something that doesn't belong. You tell yourself it'll get better. That time helps. That you'll adjust. But time doesn't heal all wounds. It just teaches you how to carry them longer. So you adapt. You build routine like it's cover. You learn which lies make civilians comfortable. You stop telling stories that end with bodies, and sometimes you even convince yourself. You believe that maybe one day you'll wake up and forget what it felt like to sprint toward gunfire instead of away from it. But then a door slams, or a siren wails, or a song comes on that used to play in the tent while you cleaned your rifle before a mission, and you're back. Just like that. Because home was never a place. It was the men beside you, the team, the fight. The ones who got you through it and the ones who didn't. And now that they're gone, you realise the hardest part of coming back isn't what you carry. It's what you left behind. You don't do goodbyes like other people. You never have. Not since the first time you watched someone say "see you later" and never come back. You learned early that every goodbye in this life has to be clean, fast, tactical. Not because you don't care, but because you care too much. And you've seen what happens when you let that show. It starts small. First deployment, first mission. You give a nod, a quick "stay safe." Then the door slams on the bird, and just like that, someone's gone. Maybe for a week. Maybe for good. You get used to it. Not the absence, the rhythm, the lack of ceremony. Because out here, drawn-out goodbyes get people killed. You learn to pack light emotionally. You memorise the last word said in passing, because those might be the last ones you ever hear. You remember the way someone tied their boots, the way they adjusted their sling, the way they smiled right before everything went to hell. You remember details, not farewells, because that's how this world works. You collect moments, not closure. You never say goodbye to a teammate like it's final, even if you know it might be. You say, "I'll see you on the other side," and you both know that means nothing, but it feels like something, and that's all you have. There was a guy Ramirez, quiet, steady, solid trigger, better eyes. He saved your ass once behind a crumbling wall in Kandahar. Didn't say a word about it. Just gave a nod, reloaded, and moved on. 2 missions later he was gone. IED. No warning, no radio call, just a plume of smoke and a hole in the earth where a friend used to stand. You didn't cry. You didn't scream. You just looked at the spot where he vanished and took 1 step forward. Because the mission doesn't pause for grief. It doesn't wait for you to catch your breath. You said goodbye to him the way you said goodbye to everyone quietly, inside, where no one could hear it. Later, when you packed his gear, you found a photo, folded in the breast pocket of his undershirt. A little girl, probably his niece, maybe his daughter. You didn't ask. You just folded it and placed it on top of his kit like it meant everything. Because it did. The goodbyes never get easier. They just get quieter. Sometimes they come in the middle of a firefight. 1 second a guy is shouting next to you. The next second there's nothing. You keep firing, you keep moving, you don't break stride. That's not disrespect. That's the code. You honour the dead by finishing the fight. There's no time for last words, just last looks. The nod across the stack. The glance on the bird before you go wheels down. The half smile at the chow hall before you head out on what might be your last stop together. You hold on to those like lifelines, because when it ends, that's all you get. And if you're lucky, you get to bury them, with a flag, with a folded uniform, with someone reading words from a page while everyone stands like statues in the heat, pretending they're not breaking apart inside. But most of the time, you bury them in your memory, because the body never came home, or came home in pieces, or came home, but you're the only one who saw what really happened. So you say goodbye again, alone, in your truck, in the dark, in the silence between missions. You whisper their names when no one can hear you, not to keep them alive, just to remind yourself you still remember. Civilian life doesn't teach you this. They say goodbye like it's a punctuation mark. Bye now. Take care. Talk soon. But you hear those words like alarms. You start calculating distance, time, probability. Because every goodbye to you still feels like a pre-mission brief. And your body reacts before your mind can stop it. Tight chest. Fast breath. That itch at the base of your neck that says something's about to happen. You date someone for a while. They tell you they're leaving. Not for good, just a weekend, a conference, a trip to see family. You nod, smile, say, have fun. But your hands twitch after they close the door. You check your phone too often. You expect silence. You brace for news. Because in your world, distance means danger. And every absence feels permanent. Eventually you stop telling people when you're leaving. You just disappear. You think it's easier for them, but really, it's easier for you. Because part of you never stopped operating like you're going back out. Like at any moment the call will come and you'll be airborne in 6 hours. New mission, new coordinates, same silence. You've built a life on disappearing. And every time you walk away from someone you care about, you do it like a movement drill, quick, efficient, no wasted motion. Not because you're heartless, because you know the price of goodbye, because you've paid it, over and over, in desert sand, in jungle mud, in city streets with broken windows and blood under your nails. You say goodbye to yourself too, every day, to the part of you that used to be light, to the part of you that used to trust, to the man you were before the first breach, before the first shot, before the first body you zipped up and loaded into the back of a bird. You said goodbye to him a long time ago. Now, you just operate. Move, maintain, adjust. And if someone asks you about loss, you tell them the truth. I don't do goodbyes. Because every one you've ever made has come with blood, or silence, or a name carved into a wall. You keep the rest of them locked down, filed away in that compartment inside you that still looks like a war zone. So when it's time to leave, you do it the way you always have. Tactically. Clean. Fast. Because goodbye isn't a moment in this life. It's a skill. You get in the shower like you always do. Same routine, same water temp, same bar of soap. You scrub hard not because you're dirty, but because it's a habit now. Like maybe if you scrub hard enough, long enough, you can rinse off the war still buried in your skin. But it never works. Because what's stuck to you? It's not mud, not sweat, not even blood. It's residue. You carry it everywhere, even when you're clean. It's in the calluses on your hands that never soften, in the stiffness in your knees from years of crouching behind walls, in the scars that don't show unless you're shirtless. And even then, most people wouldn't notice. But you do. You always do. You can still feel the weight of a ruck, even when there's nothing on your back. You still walk like you're armoured. Still sit like you're expecting incoming. You try to dress it up. Nice clothes, decent job, fresh shave. But underneath, there's a part of you that'll never be clean again. It's the part that still hears comms traffic when things get too quiet. The part that flinches when someone runs up behind you, even if it's just a kid at the store. The part that watches a movie with a wall scene and doesn't blink but breaks apart when someone plays a song that used to come through the headset during exfil. You've washed your hands so many times the skin's worn thin in places. Not because of blood, because of memory, because of what your hands have done. You remember every trigger pull, every time you dragged a friend by the vest, every zip tie, every final check for a pulse that wasn't there. And those things don't leave. No matter how long the water runs, no matter how much you try to scrub. You've got habits now, tiny rituals. You scan reflections in windows. You park in the back corner of every lot, facing out. You sleep closest to the door, even in someone else's house. You carry a knife even when you don't need it. Just the weight in your pocket makes you feel real. You keep a go bag by the bed, because somewhere in your brain you're still deployed, still waiting for the knock, still expecting to get called out. You've been back for years, but your nervous system didn't get the memo. You're still on mission, still alert, still locked in. And even if your life looks normal now, you know better. You know that part of you is stained in a way that doesn't show on skin. It shows in silences, in dreams, in the way you stop talking when someone says the wrong word, in the way you go still when a smell hits diesel, sand, burnt meat, cordite, and your body starts prepping for something that isn't there. People don't notice. They just think you're quiet, disciplined, a little intense. But the truth is, you're still processing, still sorting rooms in your head, still tallying names, still carrying ghosts. You've got drawers full of patches, coins, documents. You've got medals in a shoebox under your bed. Some people would be proud of that. You're not ashamed, but they don't feel like yours. They feel like they belong to the version of you that never came back. You don't display them, because you don't need the reminder. You are the reminder. Everything you are now was shaped by the things you survived. And those things don't rinse away. They etch themselves into your bones so you move forward. Still aware, still scanning, still remembering. You've learned to live around it, build routines, create anchors, set small goals, take care of the body even when the mind's not on board. You've learned to laugh again, little. You've learned to speak slowly when the words come. But you've also learned that some things stay with you, that there are fingerprints on your soul that no amount of time or therapy or distance will ever erase. You don't need to be fixed. You're not broken. You're changed. You went to places most people couldn't survive. You did survive. And that survival left marks. The kind no one sees. The kind you stop apologizing for. Because every time you walk into a room and feel off, every time you brace for something that doesn't happen. Hey, close your eyes for a second. You're not in your room anymore. Not under warm blankets, not with the soft hum of your phone charger and your dog snoring down the hall. But behind the titles, behind the gear, behind the missions that never made the news, are men, real men, carrying real weight. If this story stayed with you, if it made you feel something, let it. And if you want more stories like this, stories built on truth, not Hollywood, do one thing: subscribe. Not for views, not for clicks. For the ones who can't tell their story anymore. We tell it for them. Until next time, stay sharp and sleep light.